Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we are going to discuss on air quality and greenhouse gases. We have already studied air pollution is the unwanted or undesirable entry of foreign material into the air which makes it unfit for human use. Air quality and the global warming are two major environmental issues related with greenhouse gases. In this module, we will be dealing with the outdoor air pollutants and indoor air pollutants, apart from the primary and secondary pollutants. The major greenhouse gases comes under the primary and secondary pollutants, and they adds up heat to the atmosphere, which makes difficulty to the human health as well as the environment. In this module, we will be dealing with the need for the monitoring of air quality, also the measures to mitigate or to reduce the greenhouse gases, and further mitigation of air pollution. In this, we will be focusing on National Ambient Air Quality Standards, Air Quality Index, and also the air quality status of India will be studied. There are two types of air pollution based on the pollution source: outdoor and indoor air pollution, and the quality of air varies with these types of pollution. Let's see what are the causes of urban outdoor air pollution. If you are dealing with the air quality, the urban outdoor air pollution is the most important part. Here, both mobile sources and stationary sources make significant contributions to urban outdoor air pollution, and the main contribution is by carbon dioxide emission. These sources emit the primary and secondary pollutants such as particulate matter, PM10 or PM2.5, lead, sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, ozone, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, hydrogen fluoride, heavy metals apart from NOx and SOx emissions. Some of the major sources include exhaust fumes from vehicles, emissions from manufacturing facilities and power generation. The major sources of particulate matter contributing to urban air pollution are traffic around 25%, combustion and agriculture contributes 22%, domestic fuel burning contributes 20%, natural dust and salt contributes 18% and industrial activities contributes 15%. The major source of primary and secondary pollutants are of urban origin. The urban air is a complex mixture of toxic gases and particulates, which we have already seen, and the major source is combustion of fossil fuel. The urban air pollution is mainly caused by transportation sector, and it depends upon large number of vehicles, use of diesel powered vehicles in large number, use of outdated vehicles in large number of motorcycles, three-wheelers, low quality of fuel adulteration in vehicles. Private and commercial vehicles accounts for 66.28% of the total consumption of diesel. Low standards for vehicle emissions and fuel have increased levels of oxides of nitrogen and sulfur dioxide in the air. According to a report released by International Council on Clean Transportation, diesel vehicles contribute 56% of all the particulate matter emissions and 70% of all nitrogen oxides emissions from on-road vehicles in India. And the second source is industrial sector, and the pollution is by the usage of poor technology and machineries, no means for emission control and inadequate infrastructure. And the other major source is the waste sector with its poor management, inefficient incineration techniques. So, these sources emit primary and secondary pollutants such as particulate matter, lead, sulfur dioxide, NOx, SOx, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, hydrogen fluoride, heavy metals, apart from the major greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, SO2 and N2O. Let's see the global greenhouse gas emissions by the gas contribution. We can see that the carbon dioxide contributes around 76% from the fossil fuel and industrial process and forestry and other land use purpose. And the methane contribution is 16%, nitrous oxide 6% and fluorinated gas 2%. The major sources of greenhouse gases are the fossil fuel combustion and industries. The contribution of various sectors toward greenhouse gas emissions are depicted in this pie diagram. Electricity and heat production contributes 25%, agriculture, forestry and other land use contributes 24%, industry 21%, transportation 14%, building 6% and other energy sources 10%. If you see the emissions by country, the top carbon dioxide emitters are China, United States, European Union, India and the Russian Confederation. These data include carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuel combustion as well as from the cement manufacturing and gas flaring. So, you can say that this greenhouse gas contributes to the quality of the air. The mean surface of developed world like Australia, Canada, USA, Europe, former USSR and Japan emitted around 66% of the total global greenhouse gas emissions, which though has reduced to 54% in 2000, mainly offset by the rise in the Chinese emission. The China became the major contributor. India contributes around 5.5% of global emissions and ranks 4th in the world in the emissions. Coming to the indoor air quality. The levels of indoor air pollution depends on factors such as presence of indoor sources and emission rate, ventilation rate, penetration of outdoor pollutants to indoor environment and pollutant sink or removal rate on indoor surfaces. The sources of indoor air pollution are grouped into 4 categories: combustion pollutants, non-combustion pollutants, hazardous chemicals or materials applied indoors and biological agents. Let us see what is this combustion pollutant. These are mainly released from domestic combustion and tobacco smoke. Domestic combustion. WHO ranked indoor air pollution as the 8th most important risk factor responsible for 2.7% of global burden of diseases. Smoke from fuel burnt indoors, mainly from cooking and space heating, contains pollutant such as CO2 and fine particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide and carcinogenic polyaromatic hydrocarbons. Solid fuels such as wood, agricultural waste, cattle dung or low quality coal are used in rural and peri-urban areas. The cooking stoves with low efficiency generate higher emissions of incomplete combustion products. As per the census 2011, 87% of rural households and 26% of urban households depend on biomass for cooking. Burning of biomass is a leading cause of indoor air pollution and the emission of CO2 and is responsible for respiratory and pulmonary health issues in approximately 400 million Indians. In homes of developing countries, polyaromatic hydrocarbon levels were reported in the range of 100 to 10,000 nanogram per cubic meter compared to 20 nanogram per cubic meter in busy traffic areas or 20 to 100 nanogram per cubic meter in the areas of cigarette smoking. So, you can see that domestic combustion is how much dangerous. The second combustion pollutant is tobacco smoke. It is also known as environmental tobacco smoke, which is a complex mixture of toxic pollutants like fine particles, nicotine, nitrosamines, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, NOx, etc. This causes adverse health effects also to the passive smokers or exposed non-smokers. So, the ban on smoking in public places practiced by many countries. Coming to the non-combustion pollutants, these are pollutants released from building materials. These pollutants released without combustion, mainly from airtight buildings with poor ventilation, occur commonly in modern offices and urban houses. The sick building syndrome is reported from many developed and developing countries. The major indoor air pollutants of non-combustible group are chemical vapors, radon and asbestos. The chemical vapors, the various building materials, furnishings, paints, varnishes, solvents, adhesives, office equipments, etc. contain organic chemicals were released into indoor environment either in use or stored. So, these vapors exist in vapor phase, be absorbed or adsorbed on indoor materials like carpets, gypsum boards, serve as temporary sinks and off gas the vapor slowly and results in chronic exposure. Formaldehyde based adhesives like particle board, plywood paneling and medium density fiber board used indoors release formaldehyde which cause acute and chronic health effects. Radon is a gas produced in the radioactive decay process of radium which is found almost in all soil and rocks. This gas enters the home through dirt floors, cracks in concrete walls and floors, floor drains and sumps. The radon produces a series of short-lived proteins while undergoing radioactive decay and most of them attach to particles present in indoor air. These particles when inhaled deposited in lungs and can cause lung cancer. So, WHO recommends a reference level of 2.7 for the radon to minimize the exposure health hazard. Asbestos, it is commercial name of 6 naturally occurring fibrous minerals: chrysotile, actinolite, amosite, anthophyllite, crocidolite and tremolite. The hazardous chemicals used indoors includes the pesticides. To control insects, termites, rodents, fungi and microbes, we usually use pesticides inside the house. The levels of these pesticides were high in indoor air despite the bans on their use. The health concerns associated with exposure of pesticides include both acute toxic effects that occur immediately after application and potential carcinogenic effect of some pesticide. The aerosol spray, which is commonly used method of pesticide application and storing of pesticide containers in living rooms also contribute to high exposure of these chemicals. And the other type of non-combustion pollutant are biological agents. Biogenic particles or viable particles which are contaminants of biological origin consists of bacteria, molds, fungus, virus, pollen, etc. The source of these agents are animals and human as carriers of these agents. The health effects associated with biological agents are influenza, severe acute respiratory syndrome, measles, tuberculosis and chickenpox. These are located at wet or moist places such as bathrooms, flooded basements, furniture and poorly maintained humidifiers and air conditioners. Indoor air pollution in vehicles. The pollutants are generated or trapped inside the vehicle. The pollutants monitored in an air-conditioned car are VOCs like toluene, benzene, ethyl benzene, xylene as well as NOx and SOx. Exposure to high levels of toxic air pollutants while commuting in closed vehicles are of problematic. Coming to the air quality status in India, according to WHO report, among 1600 global cities, Delhi had the dirtiest atmosphere. 13 Indian cities found place in the 20 cities with highest level of particulate matter 2.5, which comes under the respirable particulate matter. The PM 2.5 in Delhi was 6 times higher than the WHO safe limit of 25. More than 60% of Indian cities had critical levels of particulate matter 10 in comparison to the national annual average standard of 60 microgram per cubic meter. The rising concentration of greenhouse gases of anthropogenic origin in the atmosphere have increased since the late 19th century. According to third assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, because of the increase in concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the carbon dioxide increased by 29%, methane by 150% and N2O by 15% in the last 100 years. The per capita emission of India, that is 1.7 ton carbon dioxide, is relatively, though it is high, but it is relatively lower than most industrialized countries with world average per capita of 5.8 tons of carbon dioxide. So, from the earlier slides, it was clear that road transport as well as the fossil fuel burning. Road transport uses the fossil fuel for its energy purpose. The same, the fossil fuel combustion is done in industries. These act as the major contributor of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, and also the domestic sector contributes to the greenhouse gas addition. As atmospheric concentrations of greenhouse gases rise globally, what happens? The temperature on the earth are increasing. Hotter temperatures are due to global warming, are expected to lead to increased weather extremes, including heat waves and worsening of air quality. So, the greenhouse gases has a direct link with the air quality, especially during the biomass burning and the crackers during Diwali celebrations adds up the greenhouse gases to the air. So, air pollution levels has increased manifold in several other cities across India like Allahabad, Lucknow, Patna, Gwalior, which also comes under the most populated cities in the world. What is the need for air quality monitoring? The air pollution causes impact on environment and health. The effect of air pollution on environment is huge. The 16% of lung cancer deaths, 11% of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease deaths, and more than 20% of the heart disease and stroke are associated with ambient fine particulate matter. This figure shows the global deaths caused by urban air pollution. The source is WHO. You can see the deaths from urban pollution. These greenhouse gases have the global warming potential, which is the index defined as cumulative radiative forcing between present and some chosen later time horizon caused by a unit mass of gas emitted now. So, if you compare the greenhouse with CO2, you will be having this global warming potential, and it is a time integrated factor and commonly adopted standard of 100-year global warming potential for reporting the greenhouse gases. You can see in the table the global warming potential of carbon dioxide is 1, methane is 25, N2O is 298, as per new reports it is around 3 ton also, CFCs it is around 4750 to 10,900. So, we have seen the impacts, the environmental impacts like average annual temperature are increasing, snow, sea, ice and glaciers are decreasing or the melting of this happens, then coastal erosion rates will increase, precipitation level will increase, or in some other part the drought conditions will prevail, then heat waves and the loss of many wildlife, and also the human health impacts. We have already seen it is related with or it is associated with respiratory diseases, some carcinogenic toxins are inhaled, which will also related to cardiovascular problems and certain types of cancers. There are risks of water, food vector and rodent-borne diseases, and the vulnerable populations such as children and elderly are expected to be most affected by the changes. It also has some economic impacts in the agriculture field, forestry, tourism and other recreation. Air quality monitoring and measures to mitigate air pollution. The air quality monitoring is the primary activity for addressing this problem. In India, 350 monitoring stations are operated by Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. The Clean Air Act amended in 1990 requires EPA to set national ambient air quality standards for pollutants considered harmful to human health and environment. They take care of most of the greenhouse gas or the criteria pollutants. The Clean Air Act identifies two types of national ambient air quality standards. Primary standards provide public health protection, including protecting the health of sensitive population such as asthmatics, children and the elderly. Secondary standards provide public welfare protection, including protection against decreased visibility and damage to animal, crop, vegetation and building. Government has taken several measures to mitigate air pollution, which include the Central Pollution Control Board notified National Ambient Air Quality Standards in 2009. The revised National Ambient Air Quality Standards in this time are notified for 12 parameters: particulate matter 10, particulate matter 2.5, NO2, SO2, carbon monoxide, ozone, ammonia, lead, nickel, arsenic, benzopyrene and benzene. You can see in this table the national ambient air quality standards for these 12 pollutants. The air quality assessment. The air quality of different cities or towns have been compared with the respective NAAQS, that is National Ambient Air Quality Standards. The pollution level in industrial, residential, rural and other areas and ecologically sensitive areas were classified based on annual mean concentration range of SO2, NO2 and PM10. You can see the pollution level low, moderate, high and critical, and how it varies with the ecologically sensitive area and industrial, residential, rural and other areas. The air quality has been categorized into 4 broad categories based on the exceedence factor. What is this exceedence factor? It is the ratio of annual mean concentration of a pollutant with that of a respective standard. The 4 air quality categories are: when this exceedance factor is greater than 1.5, it is critical pollution is observed. When EF is between 1 to less than 1.5, high pollution. When the exceedance factor is between 0.5 to 1, it is moderate pollution. When the exceedance factor is less than 0.5, it is low pollution. National Air Quality Index was launched in 2015 by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it was introduced in 2015 April. So, it is a measurement index consisting of 8 parameters which would disseminate information in a simple and effective manner to the common man as characterized by its slogan: one color, one number and one description. It is defined as an overall scheme that transforms weighted values of individual air pollution related parameters, that is SO2, carbon monoxide visibility, into a single number or set of numbers is widely used for air quality communication and decision making. Air quality index at short intervals depends on 8 parameters: particulate matter 10, particulate matter 2.5, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, ammonia and lead, having short term standards for near real time dissemination of air quality index. The proposed index has 6 categories: good, satisfactory, moderately polluted, poor, very poor and severe. So, this index is helpful for general public to know air quality in a simplified way, and also helps a decision maker and a government official to study the impact of regulatory action. Coming to the air quality management and mitigation measures for the reduction of greenhouse gases. Adoption of emission norms and fuel regulation standards. The amount of air pollutants released by the internal combustion engine equipments is managed by using cleaner fuel with low sulfur content and improved combustion engines. India is following the Bharat stage fuel norms, and as on November 2011, this Bharat stage 4 norms are applicable in 63 selected cities, whereas Bharat stage 3 norms are applicable in the rest of the country. The plan is to impose Bharat 5 fuel and emission norms by 2018 and Bharat 6 by 2021. So, low sulfur fuels are critical to lowering direct emissions of particulate matter from on-road traffic, that is ultra fine soot particles are of great concern due to their health impacts and are a leading cause of the lung cancer. And the black carbon, it is important for the climate pollutant. Then the second measure is National Urban Transport Policy. The percent of personal transport such as cars and two-wheelers in most of the Indian cities accounts for 45 to 48% share in the modes of transport used. The National Urban Transport Policy was launched in 2006 by the Ministry of Urban Development for encouraging greater use of public transport in urban areas. It was reviewed in 2004, seeks to prioritize the use of public transport running on cleaner fuel and technology and develop a people-centric, sustainable multimodal urban transport network, taking into consideration the unique characteristics and specific situations prevalent in cities. It promotes public transport network including metros. The third measure is reducing the dependence on biomass burning in rural households. Government of India has focused on the importance of clean and efficient cook stoves in order to reduce emissions as well as health hazards associated with inhalation of harmful emissions from burning of biomass that contribute to indoor air pollution in rural areas and urban areas. National Biomass Cook Stoves Program was launched by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy to promote the use of improved cook stoves, which would result in reduced emissions and offer cleaner cooking energy solutions. Unnat Chula Abhiyan has been launched to expand the deployment of the improved cook stoves across the country. The other measure is switching to renewable energy. Introduction of cleaner alternate fuel like CNG, that is compressed natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas, that is LPG, helps in reducing the exhaust gas emissions from the vehicles. In 1995, the Supreme Court ordered the closure and relocation of polluting industries in Delhi. In 2001, the court ordered the closure of all polluting and non-polluting industries that were located in residential areas, but did not conform to Delhi Master Plan. And in 2002, it ordered the preparation of a scheme for compulsory switchover to CNG or LPG as automotive fuel for all public transport vehicles. So, the shift from consumption of fossil fuel to renewable energy source like solar, wind, hydro, tidal, geothermal, biomass energy also enable reduction of negative impacts to air by the emission. India is extremely rich in renewable energy, so we can harness this energy for the transportation as well as other use. The various climate friendly initiatives were introduced, such as enhancement of energy efficiency, promotion of use of renewable energy sources and introduction of environmental measures such as enhancement of afforested land area, efficient low energy intense agriculture practices, waste management will also address such climate change issues effectively. The principal mechanisms available to India for financing climate change mitigation activities and technology transfer under UNFCCC are CDM, that is Clean Development Mechanism, and the Global Environmental Facility. So, it can be used for reducing the greenhouse emissions to the atmosphere. The other measures to mitigate air pollution includes formulation of regulation, setting up of monitoring network, execution of source apportionment studies, and reduction in vehicular emissions by all the means. So, students, to summarize, in this module we have seen the air quality, the urban air quality, what are the causes of urban air pollution. We have seen indoor air quality, what are the pollutants causing this indoor or deteriorate this indoor air quality like combustible, non-combustible, hazardous as well as biological agents. We have seen what is the need to monitor the air quality. We have seen different measures to mitigate the air pollution. We have seen the different measures to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. We have also dealt with the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, Air Quality Index, and also the air quality status of India, especially Delhi and other cities which are worst in its quality among the world's other cities. We have also seen in this air quality the most important thing is particulate matter, which is most problematic to the human health, either as suspended particulate matter, which is PM10, and PM2.5, which is respirable particulate matter. And there is a need to mitigate this greenhouse gases emissions to the atmosphere because it has an impact on the environment to heat up the earth, that is global warming, as well as impact on human health and other economic impacts. Thank you.